I know. So Michael,
Oh, here we are.
so this building has an enormous amount of history associated with it. And God knows I would try to tell the story. But Arthur, who is our host here in the
He's a
building. He's a wealth of information.
I made a little something for everyone to take home tonight, which is an image of the Dr. Sherman home that was here in the American Revolution. And on the reverse, there's kind of a visual timeline that starts with the founding of New Haven and coming all the way through to the present building that we're in. That would kind of just visualize like how the space has changed over the years.
Wow.
Bailey, I don't need to describe the table, but perhaps I could just put it on the side for you.
How nice. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Well, I have a whole laminator and check out the very enthusiastic photos.
Mark, is that you in that window? That is me. Yeah. I had my hair done. Yeah. With the pearls on. I do have my pearls. I have the original.
You just. So Roger Sherman was a founding father who made New Haven, Connecticut his home all throughout the American Revolution, and that's whose home is depicted, and that's where we are was where that home was located. And Roger Sherman's house was the center of Sherman's large family. He had 15 children.
Whoa!
So
Should have a TV.
no TV. No. Well, no TV. They did have tutors, and he was the treasurer of Yale College, so I think they had a great book collection, and we were very enthusiastic about that. As a prominent public figure, a colonial leader, revolutionary patriot, and the first mayor of New Haven, Roger Sherman's domestic life often intersected with his public duties in notable ways. So today I thought we would just take a quick look back at Roger Sherman's New Haven home, its physical description, references, and contemporary accounts of this. Maybe a story of his family life there and some significant events that took place in the home, and how Sherman's role played out in his private household. He actually built the home that you see. He had a hand in its construction, which was completed in 1770, and was the residence for the rest of his entire life. Was where he lived. Contemporary descriptions would say that it's kind of in appearance looking a bit like a salt box shape, colonial style architecture. With this home, he was known for his hospitality. The front door opening towards the sidewalk was bordered by a low fence, and in the rear, the roof was tapered into like a lean-to, with I think maybe some of the kitchen there. Inside the home would have been furnished in the plain but sturdy style of the time for a large colonial family. There's not a great inventory of Sherman's interior, but it was noted that it was a large and spacious house with multiple rooms to accommodate the large and growing household. His prominence in the committees of safety and correspondence, as well as his role in the Declaration, made him a target during the wartime. And on July 5th, 1779, 3,500 British troops invaded New Haven, and they coalesced around the Green and came into all the homes that were here. In particular, Roger Sherman was one of the most hardest hit homes. They took everything of value that wasn't nailed down, and his family was safe. They were evacuated, and he was in Philadelphia at the time. But it sounds like that the British troops were aware of his identity as a leader, and targeted his home for ransacking, and took all the silver and furniture and belongings and family heirlooms at the time. There was even a frightening rumor that his wife and children had been kidnapped, but this was it turned out to be not the case, and the British were referred to as rapacious lobsterbacks.
What does that mean?
Lobster. The coast being red, was
yes.
perhaps
Thank you.
And he also had an eldest son, William Sherman, whose home was also targeted and ransacked, and they were amongst the worst damaged homes. The claim to fame for Roger Sherman is that he was the founder that was second oldest behind Benjamin Franklin in the Constitutional Convention, and was the only to sign all 4 major documents that founded the nation. He was also somewhat progressive. He was anti-slavery. He was someone that said that he never made a major decision without first consulting his wife. And I think that he is very virtuous, and that was something that was rewarded in the first mayorship by his neighbors. His life on Chapel Street here was a vivid illustration of the intersection between public service and the domestic life of the 18th century. With the large family that he had, he was known for his reputation for fairness, and as a statesman, he simultaneously juggled roles of being a lawmaker, a judge, a civic leader, and all of his sons actually were involved in the Continental Army and enlisted, and they all served as officers during the Revolution. So certainly the Sherman home was, they saw some emotional farewells during those years, and for the 2 sons that survived the war, joyful homecomings as well. The public really had a great access to Sherman because he was keeping a store here as well. So a lot of folks would stop by and cross over the yard and come in and meet with Roger and run ideas past him, and kind of he was selling books in the store, so he was very knowledgeable and had kept up to date with like the latest publications. And this was before the federal currency, so a lot of the times the store was like bartering for country produce or whatever farmers might raise. And he was, I don't know if you've seen this portrait on the way up in the coat room, but he is someone that had somewhat of a serious demeanor, but I think he had a good sense of humor, and there's a twinkle in his eye if you see his portrait later. I think you'll maybe not so easy to detect, but I think it's there. And the legacy that Roger Sherman leaves us is this room is called the Sherman Room. And our little plot of land has Sherman's Alley, which is between our building and the neighbor. And this was named in honor of Roger Sherman and everything that he contributed to the founding of the country. I would say that Roger Sherman's home was more than just an old colonial dwelling. It was a stage that, like, the ordinary and extraordinary moments of the revolutionary period of American life played out. And inside the home, Sherman was an affectionate father and an esteemed statesman. In the physical structure itself, with the saltbox roof and the simple furnishings, reflected the man's humble origins and his practical mindset. He was trained as a shoemaker, and then taught himself surveying and almanac making and practiced law. There were great matters that affected us even to this day, debated in the interior of the home, perhaps by like candlelight in the parlor. But this was the address that Sherman left from each day to serve his community and his country, and this is the address that he returned back to, whether from the halls of Congress or the battle-scarred roads of wartime Connecticut. The House Board witnessed the pivotal events, the clatter of British soldiers invading, and the solemn prayers of a family in crisis, and the laughter of grandchildren, and even the dignified footsteps of President Washington when he came to visit, crossing the threshold. But I would say that what I really am inspired by is that Sherman's life encapsulates the ideal of like a citizen leader whose public virtue was grounded in private virtue, and that is something that I think it is inspiring even in the present. Having a life of exemplary public service as a lasting inspiration, and having this be the backdrop of such a remarkable chapter of American history.
Thank you.
Wow. That was so good.
Cheers. Happy
Cheers.
birthday.
Cheers.
Happy birthday.
Thank you, Arthur.